Hello and welcome back to another episode of Dating, Laughter and Disasters with me, Lulu Johnson, a show that's all about the highs and lows of modern dating. And on this podcast, we're laughing about it. We are here at House of Colour to do Podfest Berlin, and I am joined by my one and only co-host, best friend and all-around lovely, funny lady, Miss Ivy Jo, everybody.
Hello.
Hi, girlie.
Hello.
Welcome
back. Nice to be back.
Wait, I also have to mention this. And live podcast recordings at Podfest Berlin 2024 are supported by WonderTax, your tax declaration tool in Germany. Thank you. Great. Well,
cheeky ad.
Sorry.
Some of you may be wondering why Lulu is wearing a mask. And the answer is she doesn't want her identity all over the internet. So please feel free to take pictures, videos, whatever, tag them on Instagram, not of her actual face if she ever takes it off at the end of the night.
No.
Yeah, but with me,
shameless.
Don't care.
Yeah.
I just don't care.
Yeah.
So we're just going with my full face and real name and everything.
Yeah,
so
I've revealed far too much. It would get me in trouble in the city. My mother isn't even allowed to listen to this podcast. Like, she asked, and I was like, no way, you can't. My aunt came to our first show, and I asked her afterwards. So she lives here, my mom's sister, and I said, did you enjoy it? And she said, you're very vulgar. And she was like, your mother can't listen to this. It's just like, I know. So, yeah, it's just safer for our relationship that she doesn't hear what I have to say.
It was pretty bad.
Right, so look, basically we have a theme today. Yes, it's always about dating as well, of course, but Ivy and I have just closed our 10th summer here in Berlin. So we have lots of things to talk about. And we've had lots of firsts in Berlin, haven't we? We've both been here the exact same year. We met about a year after we both moved here. And yeah, we have a fun night for you this evening. Actually, just before the show started, we were discussing what we were going to talk about. Very last minute planning. And I reminded Ivy of like some story, and she was like, oh my God, I totally forgot that happened. So it's been great that we can bounce off each other and remind each other of the shit we've been up to.
So many ridiculously bad dates. So many.
Yeah. So like, let's just get going basically. Like, tell us about your 10th summer in Berlin. What you get up to?
10th summer in Berlin. Pretty chill summer. Went camping a lot. Did a bit of hiking. I think there was like one little bit of a mishap that I had with the camping. So I went to a free camping spot near Erkner, and I was all ready to have a nice time. And I had actually planned to take a little bit of mushrooms while I was there, have a little nice nature experience. And we'd set the tent up, and just as we set the tent up, the frickin' river police come along with these two people from the Waldschutz, like nature protection, and they came marching over to our tent, and they were like, how long has your tent been here? And I was like, less than 5 minutes, haven't even unpacked yet. And they were like, how long is it going to be here? And I was like, one night. I was pretty sure it was a free camping Platz. And then they told me it's only a free camping Platz if you come by river or bike. And anyway, long story short, it's so ridiculously German. So you can camp there for free. You have to arrive by river or bike. Anyway, it was just like a lucky escape because I hadn't yet taken the mushrooms, and I was literally I was like fishing them out of my bag to enjoy the last minutes of unpacking, you know. So yeah, rolled up the tent real quick and ran away from that experience. But yeah, that was the most interesting thing that happened that summer, I guess.
Yeah.
And how about you?
Oh, I'm living my best granny era. I absolutely love it. I've gone from being a big party girl to just sitting on my balcony all summer. I've done nothing, and I love it. Like, I have a cat now. I have a boyfriend. I hardly see him really because I'm like, no, I just need to be on the balcony with my cat and a book. And the most exciting thing that happened to me all summer, well, the most eventful thing was, it just happened last week. It's such an off-topic story, but it's kind of funny and it's kind of gross. I'm a total cretin. Basically, I went out last week to go to yoga, as you do in your granny era, and was out for an hour and a half, came back, was in the hallway of my building, and I was like, lovely smell, someone's cooking something. It's kind of like, just reminded me of popcorn, right? I walked into my apartment and I was like, oh, the smell is coming from me. What am I cooking? I've been out for an hour and a half. I fucking left the rice on for an hour and a half and it burnt. But like, it wasn't black burnt. It was like a nice crispy burnt. And I mean, I sound like such a, I don't know, it's totally cretinous behavior, but I ate it.
She sent me a picture like it was a gourmet meal.
Yeah, I doused it in sesame oil and coriander and it was fucking lovely. That's the most exciting thing that's happened to me all summer, to be quite honest with you. Like, back in the day, honestly,
Thank you.
if I had been in like a Thai restaurant and someone said this is the local cuisine, I'd have been like, yeah, I like it. It looked nice. It was all like crispy and round. Like, it was shaped like the pot. It was lovely.
Crispy and round.
So like, that is my life now. I do nothing. I eat burnt rice and I'm very, very content. Because looking back at all of our years in Berlin, like, they started off wild. Like, is it anyone's first summer here in Berlin? No. Okay. So
lots of experience.
Can everyone
there better be some
remember?
good stories in the box.
Yeah. Can anyone remember their first summer in Berlin and how exciting it was? Because everything was new and like the smells, the sounds, just the language. It was all just so fun. And there's still always new things to do, even 10 years after being here. But my first couple of summers were mental.
What'd you get up to?
I think, no, I actually have to check my list again because there was just so much that went on. Well, I had my first ever Tinder date the first summer I came to Berlin. And he was the first guy I ghosted as well. His name was Juan. He was a Spanish nurse. And I just didn't need to see him again, so I just didn't text him back. So like,
We're all guilty of ghosting.
100%. But that was my very first ever online date, my first Berlin date. But when I first came to Berlin, I was 26. I was very Irish in that Catholic guilt followed me. Irish guilt followed me. I was not brought up as strict Catholic or anything, but I was I had to go to Mass every Saturday night because my mother was terrified that her mother was going to ask her who gave Mass. So my mom, who's not even a practicing Catholic, also dragged us there. So, and you go to school, all-girls school, long skirts, like, don't look at the boys kind of thing. So my first summer, I'll never forget it, I was cycling down Prenzlauer Allee. And this is how innocent I was back then. I saw a massive billboard of a vibrator, but shaped like, I want to say like a clamp. Like, it's kind of hard to, I don't even really know how to, like this, basically. And I was so innocent, I actually thought they were oven gloves. I swear to God. Like, do you know the ones that you get? What are they made of? This non-burning
Silicone.
Well,
it's the same material, so
I was looking at it.
Easy mistake.
And the closer I got to it, I was like, oh, wait, that's a vibrator. They're actually advertising vibrators here, So that's how my summer started, very innocent. And then as time went on, got a little skanky.
Skanky? You
Yeah.
got skanky.
Oh, yeah.
Go on.
Well,
Pray tell.
my first, for example, it took me 2 years to get to Kitkat. I wanted to go for a while, but again, it was the Catholic guilt that was holding me back. And I'd had this conversation with someone before, and he was also Irish, and his name was Thomas. He's a boyfriend of a friend. And he was like, oh, is it the Catholic guilt that's holding you back? I was like, it is, Thomas. That's exactly what it is. But I ended up going because, my first year hadn't touched the naughty sweets, we'll call them. And because my mother had always said, don't take drugs or you'll die. And I was like, okay, then I won't. I'll stay alive forever. And then we started working in that cafe where we met, and our colleagues were all doing the business. See, I'm still being like all Catholic about it. Don't say the bad words. And they were all
Don't do drugs.
and they were all very respectable young people, and they were alive. And they were doing drugs. And I was like, oh, well, looks like drugs don't kill everyone. So I ended sorry. The mother put the fear of God into me, right? And so I ended up going to Kitkat my second year here, I think, with a bunch of friends. And that was my first time taking ecstasy because I realized, oh, well, all my friends are taking it. I want to try it too. I felt a little bit of pressure and I was also curious. And that started that story. You know the story.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if people have been listening to the podcast, but I think I mentioned this once that, so my first experience at Kitkat, I got very drunk. I had 2 bottles of wine, and that's when I was like, I'll take some ecstasy for the first time, right? So did that and got very high very quick. That was very fun. And 12 hours later, it was time to go home. So that wasn't my very first time. The following week was when the shit got fun. Went back to Kitkat, took ecstasy again, but actually I drank so much because I didn't want to take drugs. I was like, I'll just get really drunk instead. But that didn't work. I wanted to take ecstasy again, so I did. And that's when my friend said to me, come on up to the dark room with me. I like watching men on men. And I was like, okay, I don't think I do, but sure, I'll go anyway. My little innocent Catholic way. And so she brought me up to the dark room, and those who've been to Kitkat back room, it's like the big balcony. So for me, it wasn't pitch black. You could see what was going on. And I saw a whole load of stuff. So I'll describe it to you. I went up there, and I saw a man doing the deed with 3 other fellas, right? And there I was, just being like, oh, this is happening. Okay, just sit in it and just take it in. And honestly, with that, a guy in a gimp mask came up the stairs, and I was like, oh, what's going to happen now? And he was staring at me, and I was like, no. And then, move on. And then he said, he saw the guy that was on all fours doing the dirty with these 3 men. He saw him, and the other guy looked at him from behind, and he spreads his cheeks, and they start going at it. And I was like, oh, wow, they don't teach you this in Catholic school. And and all the while this is happening, the guy in the gimp mask is looking at me, licking his lips and winking. I was like, no. And in the same very moment, my childhood song came on, the first time I'd ever heard it playing in a club in Berlin. Spice Girls, If You Want to Be My Lover. And I was like, I can't handle this, no. So I ran down the stairs, and I ran to the bathroom to pour water on my face, but there was a massive queue. And in that queue, there was the most animalistic noises from a woman. I'd never heard them before. She was getting fisted on a dentist chair. And I was like, wow, I can't escape this. I think that's when I may have taken the ecstasy, actually. Yeah. It was great fun, and
it's eye-opening.
It's eye-opening. I went back then quite often after. I loved it. It was very common to, go down to the basement, have a little dance, and on your way to the toilets, go past an orgy. It was chill. I became so used to just seeing it that, the Catholic within me just slowly disappeared,
It's evaporated.
It just
from your
evaporated,
body.
yeah.
I remember going to the Kitkat for the first time. I don't know if it was as exciting as yours. I just remember losing my friend, and we'd gone there together, and I know that she had these 2 braids, and she was wearing black. Everyone's wearing black. And I lost her, and I went looking for her, and then I saw a girl with 2 braids giving someone a blowjob on the side, but I couldn't see her face. And then I was like, is that her? Is that her? And I got really close before I realized that my head was about 2 inches away from someone giving someone a blowjob, and it was not her. And I'm so grateful, because it would have been worse if it was her. I just really hadn't thought that one through. And I think the only other really kind of funny story I have from Kitkat is when I needed to pee really, really badly, and I went downstairs and I went to the toilet, and there was a massive queue. Sorry, there was a queue upstairs, and I went downstairs, and there was a massive queue downstairs, and the toilets were closed, and people weren't coming out of there. There was groups in there. They were all doing their thing. And I was knocking at the door, just being like, please, someone just let me in. I don't care what you're doing. I just need to pee, please. I need to pee. And then this massive, burly guy with giant muscles, and he was almost naked, was like, do you want me to lift you up so that you can pee in the urinal, like a baby? And I was like, yeah, right. And so he kind of came behind me and lifted me up by my legs like this.
Anything goes in Kitkat.
And held me against the wall, and then the crowd cheered. And it was the funniest pee of my life. I have no shame.
But the fun stuff happens in Berlin. I'm from a small town in Ireland. You're from the mountains of Wales. We don't
Not
get
even
this.
a town.
Yeah.
You know how everyone's obsessed with population in Germany. and then everyone's like, oh, I come from a town of 10,000. It's really small. And then they're like, how much do you? And then I'm like, from a place of 10. And they're like, what? Like thousands? And I'm like, no, people. There's like, it's a mountain. It's my family and like one other family. And then I moved from there directly to Berlin, and it was just like, wow.
Yeah. Because what brought you to Berlin? I know this, but they don't.
Do you know what? I've got a poem about it. Maybe should I read the poem? But I've got to find it on my phone. I don't know if well, fuck it.
Is that a yes or no?
I don't know. Can people be bothered to wait for it?
Yeah, go on. Yeah. They can all think of their dating stories in the meantime, and you can write stuff down.
Keep them busy. Hang on.
Hi, boo.
Got it.
Oh, brilliant.
I write poems. This is one I wrote about how I came to Berlin and why.
I don't think I know this. Jackie's pissing her pants anyway. I'm excited.
I don't know if it's even that great. Okay. In lonely Wales, long ago, there lived a girl called Ivy Jo. She craved a world outside of Wales, and so she thought, I'll set my sails. It started out, as most things do, with Tinder swiping on the loo. Alas, she got a match and so went on a date with Romeo. Now, as dates go, 'twas not the best, but she thought he had some zest. He loved old cars and things that go, and this intrigued young Ivy Jo. Spontaneous is understating a trip to Paris from Tinder dating. He offered her this trip to see Bonham's car show, all for free. She agreed and made a plan to fly away with Tinder Man. This plan she made was with a view to Eurotrip a month or two. She quit her job and said goodbye, for in a week she set to fly. So off she went, a second date in foreign lands with trust in fate. The week-long trip was far too slow with a man she didn't know. They went and saw the classic cars, ate in restaurants, drank in bars. They saw the sights and spoke Francais, but she couldn't wait to get away. The problem was this guy was odd, the type that felt that he was God. So Ivy thought she better fly far away from Tinder guy. And so she asked where she should head. Without a thought, Berlin, he said. That city's great. You'll dance all day and party your whole life away. I have. There are things there you have to see. Berlin is more than just crazy. She was convinced on just one mention, though Berlin was not her first intention. But hey, why not? Life goes too quick to hesitate and miss a trick. Then once again, she booked her flight, this time alone, Berlin in sight.
Is that it? That's amazing. What a star.
Thanks very much. It's all true. It is actually true. I went to France a week after first Tinder date with a guy for a second date.
That's amazing. My story is so shit in comparison. Yeah, I'd have no
and then I got here, and a week later found out that I had mono, which is like...
Not monogamy, right?
No, not monogamy.
Sorry,
I've got that too now, though. Sorry, John, the scientist. It's like where your glands all swell up and you're sick for like months, and it was really bad. And then the doctor was like, you need to go home. And I was like, no, but I just did this really big thing. And I'm from a small town, and now I'm in this big city, and I want to stay. And then I got a house, and I ended up living there for 6.5 years. And here I am.
And here you are now. Woo! Amazing. We all have our own little stories, but I just came off the boat from Cambodia and just came straight here. Basically, I have cousins that are from Berlin. This is why I'm here. And
off the back of some pretty wild travels, though.
Yeah. Not as wild. I think my time in Berlin has been way more absolutely mad. I came back with a effed up stomach from too much drinking for 3 months in Asia that I actually had to come to Berlin to detox. Doesn't really make sense, does it? I've never really heard anyone say that. So tell us then about your first Berlin date. Anything that sticks in your mind?
The first, I guess it was a date. It wasn't really a date. I don't know if it's a date. In the first week before I got sick, I was staying in Hostel 180, but I didn't have super much money, so I was trying to couch surf as much as possible, and I got chatting with the guy that worked there, and he was like, oh, my friend hosts people on couch surf. You should get in contact with him. And I went over to his house and we met up. And then it became super obvious, super early on that this was like a hookup situation where he was just sending this guy girls from the hostel. And I was like, that was pretty fucking grimy, but I'm here now, so. So I ended up, we very almost hooked up, and I was like getting naked, and then he backed away. All of a sudden, he was like, what is going on? What's wrong with your body? And I was like, what the fuck? Like about to get real aggressive, and I looked down and I was covered, like my whole body was covered in rash. And that's when I realized that there was something wrong, and I went to the hospital the next day and realized that I had mono. That was the first sign.
Did you?
So mono saved me from that fucking creep.
I was going to say, did you have sex with him? I didn't.
I did not.
Oh, yeah,
no.
fair enough. That's good of you. Yeah.
Very good, sir.
Very good, so. Okay, yeah, so that's one that stands out in your mind. No, that was your first date then.
I guess. I mean, it wasn't a date. I mean,
a Berlin
was
situation.
It was a setup.
Okay.
I don't know what would be my first date.
Well,
what was yours? Oh, what was yours?
Well, after this guy, Juan, the Spanish nurse, I've had a lot of them, but I have one that sticks out the most. It was really random. I basically matched with a guy on Tinder. It was my first summer here, and he was a Canadian, and his grandmother was from the same town. His grandmother was from the same town as my granny. And I was like, well, this is mental. We have to meet up because this town is just teeny tiny rural Ireland. And I was like, what are the chances that you meet a guy on Tinder? And I thought, oh, maybe it's meant to be, like, and then we'll get married in a little town and live happily ever after. That was the one guy where I realized that you have to check you have to have one Tinder profile where you're not wearing glasses. Do you know that one when everyone says, don't date someone that only wears sunglasses in their profile? We all know this, women, don't we? Yeah. Anyway, so I met him. And he was grand, whatever. We met down the road here in Merringdam, and we went to an Austrian bar, had something to eat, kind of uneventful until it was the 10 o'clock rule in the summer. You had to go in to be quiet for the neighbours. We were pushed into the restaurant, and there was a group of Irish people there. So we became friends with the Irish people and got to know them. We were absolutely piss drunk. I can remember this much because... So I'd asked the girl of the group, her name was Surika, a very Irish name. It means Sarah, FYI. And I said to Surika, oh, like, what do you do? And she was like, oh, we're in a band. And I was like, oh, cool. Like, I just thought it was a little indie band or whatever. And I said, oh, are you doing well? She was like, yeah. And I was like, what's the name of your band? And she told me it. And I was like, I can't say I know you. And she said, oh, we're going to Cannes Film Festival tomorrow to perform. And I was like, now I'm really uncomfortable that I don't know your band and that you're Irish. I'm very sorry. So we exchanged Facebook. We were meant to hang out later on in the evening, but the group separated, and in the end, we didn't actually meet up. And it was about a month later, I was back in Ireland, and a song came on the radio, meant nothing to me until the DJ said, oh, this is such and such a band, and he mentioned the singer was Surika. And I was like, I remember being on a date last month with this girl, Surika. And I went through my Facebook messages, and it turns out she was in a really well-known Irish band called Walking on Cars. Chloe, you know them? Yeah. I don't think there's any other Irish people here, is there? Oh, class, really? Where are you from? Oh, lovely. So I met Walking on Cars while I was on a Tinder date. Totally random. I met like famous people, and I didn't know they were famous. So yeah, it was kind of cool. Like, it's probably less exciting because people don't know them, but that does actually. But this does bring me on to a really funny story. Now I've just thought of it. Another famous Irish person who you all know, Colin Farrell. So this is the story of the time I got fingered by Colin Farrell. Pause for laughter. This actually happened. This is not a Berlin-related story, but it's hilarious. 2009, Colin Farrell he was in Cork filming a movie called Undine. Another Irish word means mermaid. Do you know this? Do you know the movie? Right, well, do you? It wasn't that good, was it? Anyway, he was down in Castletownbere, the arse end of Ireland, basically. There's nothing there. It's the peninsula. Once you're there, you have to turn back around, right? And he was filming down there, and I happen to know the town. My cousins have a house down there, so I regulared it often, right? So I made the 200-kilometer journey down with my sister and a friend in our little .9 Yaris. We were bombing it down. We were going to see Colin Farrell on set. So we made our way into the little fishing town of Castletown Bear, and we weren't long searching when we found the trailers, the movie trailers, right? And we got all excited. We're like, oh my God, we're on the set or whatever, near the set. And with that, the door of the trailer opens and Colin Farrell pops out. And we're like, oh my God, it's fucking Colin Farrell. Long, greasy hair. He was fucking gorgeous, right? We loved him at the time. And so we could do no more. He went off to do his job, whatever, being a mermaid or whatever. And the day went on. Our day went on. We were hanging out with the aunt for the day. And as it was getting darker, we decided, right, let's head back to the city. So we said, right, before we head back, let's go back into town one last time to see if we can see Colin Farrell. So we were driving down this big, wide country road. I have to set the scene of the story. And it was a big, wide road. And we were driving down only 5 minutes when we saw Colin Farrell parked up in his silver Range Rover at the side of the road. And we were like, fuck it, it's Colin. So my sister did a big fucking 180 in the middle of this road in our little car. And we plonked ourselves right behind Colin's car. And we were like, right, what are we going to do now? We can't just watch him on his phone. This is kind of weird. So we came up with a weirder plan. And we said, right, let's pretend to be hitchhikers.
Forgotten that.
So many twists and turns to this story. And so we decided, right, in the direction that the cars are parked, we were gonna drive back. And we were going to park the car in my aunt's garden along the same road. And we hit it. I even think we were stupid enough to put branches over it as if to make a scene of it, right? We were just stupid 19-year-olds. Anyway, we went out onto the main road and we put our thumbs out and we were waiting for Colin Farrell, right? 20 minutes were going by, no sight of fucking Colin in the silver Range Rover. And finally, he comes round the bend and he was bombing it down. And we're like, right, lads, it's him. There's not many silver Range Rovers in this little fishing town, right? And so we put out our thumbs. We were looking as desperate and as needy as possible as you can when you're in this situation and you're sure that an A-lister from Hollywood is going to pick you up in his car. We were so just full of excitement and positivity for it. So I'm Colin coming down the road and this is us. We're just ready for it. Okay, you're us. And there, Colin, he's coming. And he just goes, oh, like that. He just gave us a salute from his wheel. And that's the story of the time I got fingered by Colin Farrell. Total clickbait. I just had to tell the story because it just connected with that other story. And that very evening, my cousins went into the chipper and who was there ordering his fish and chips? Only Colin himself. I was raging. So yeah, that's the story.
I'd completely forgotten all the details about you being lame and trying to hitchhike from.
We were very pathetic. We really thought he was going to pick us up.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Amazing. Should we move on to our Berlin firsts?
Yeah.
Or continue with the Berlin firsts?
Yeah. What were we on now? Relationships?
First relationship.
Yeah. Oh, you have a good one.
A good one.
The other fella about the you know what.
I don't know what. Yeah, that would be my first fight with a boyfriend in Berlin. So
we have an audience member here who's absolutely losing her shit.
So I was dating this guy for 2 years. And I think 1 and a bit years into dating, I invited him to my little sister's wedding that was going to be in almost a year's time. And he said yes. And so I bought the tickets. I bought the hotel things. I didn't earn very much money at the time, so it's kind of a big deal that I was paying for everything. And and it kind of got closer. We'd planned it the whole year. The year went on. It was almost time for the wedding. And a few weeks before the wedding, his friends asked him to babysit their house and their cat. And a few weeks. And then, so he was looking after the house and he was looking after the cat. And then it turns out the cat got sick and we had to take the cat to the vet. And we took the cat to the vet and the vet said that the cat needed to have its leg amputated, sadly. Now, the cat was 21. The cat was blind. The cat already had its tail amputated. And at this point, I was kind of let's, maybe not. Making me sound like a real... I love cats. Anyway, and we phoned... Where the owners phoned us and they talked to the vet and they were like, yeah, you need to stay and look after the cat. You can't go to this wedding. And I was like, it's my sister's wedding though and everything's paid for and I need to take them there. And then me and my boyfriend agreed that he was definitely going to come. And then the night before the wedding, I was like texting him and being like, hey, are you packed? Because we're going to go. And he messaged me saying, yeah, I can't go because I've got to look after this cat. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? And we were walking down, where was it? Regeerstrasse or something, like on a really busy street. And I phone him up. And I'm normally so calm. Like, I don't fight with anyone ever. And I phoned him up and he was like, yeah, I'm going to look after this cat. We can't put it in a cattery. No one else can look after it. The vets can't look after it. That was bullshit. And I just go, in the middle of Regeerstrasse, I was like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. Like, absolutely fucking lost my shit. And you, like, looking at me like, oh, fuck. Because I'd say you've never seen me angry.
Since then, I've never seen you get angry. Yeah, I get angry for you. We've had this discussion before. Yeah. And Jackie, too. She's like, yeah.
Yeah, otherwise totally calm. So that was my first, and I'd say almost, no, apart from the house thing, but like maybe one of two fights I've ever had with a partner.
But do you remember you had the moment of it was like the Love Actually scene in your life, and then...
Oh, true.
Yeah.
You have to remind me of everything. True, because I broke up with him, went to my sister's wedding, and then I was staying in London and going to see my family. And I was going to hook up with an old London hookup that I used to see every time I was in London. And I'd agreed to meet him at Euston Station. And meanwhile, this ex-boyfriend of mine had contacted my family and been like, where's Ivy going to be arriving in at the station at? Because I want to go meet her there. And my mum had messaged me being like, didn't you break up with this guy? I think you've got a stalker. Do you want me to call the police? And I was like, no, I think it's all right. Anyway, I messaged him. Turned out he'd already flown to London. I was like, fine, I'll meet you. You can, whatever. We ended up getting a little pedalo boat and talking about our relationship. I had to cancel my London hookup. That was a shame. But yeah, we got back together, I'd say, for like a couple of weeks after that, and then we broke up again.
But it was just such a movie moment, pure corny. He was like, no, I can't come to the wedding. Then he goes and meets you in London. Yeah, love bombing at its finest, really, isn't it?
It was ridiculous. Yeah. It was ridiculous.
And that's why he's your ex-boyfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great.
That and other reasons.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, that was an interesting one. Yeah, we've all had interesting relationships in this town, I can imagine. Everyone's had a story, haven't they, Kate? Just the way you're looking at me. I was just saying. That wasn't like intentionally trying to call you out there.
Rude.
Well, do you know what's funny? How things bring you, like how certain situations, like the reason I am here having a podcast and the reason that I have the book is because of a terrible ex-boyfriend that I had years ago. But the way that I met him was actually really random. So I'd been out my first summer in Berlin. I was out in Siemendachstrasse with a new friend. I'd only been in the city a couple of months, and I was walking down the street and I heard an Irish girl talking, and Irish being Irish, you know, the second you hear a voice, like an accent, it's like, oh, where are you from? And you're suddenly like new friends, you know? So I heard this girl, she was also from Dublin, and she was handing out flyers on the street, and I went up to her and I just wanted to be her friend straight away. And she was like, oh, you just walked past Michael Cera, you know, the actor from Superbad. And I was like, oh, did I? I didn't even see him. And she was like, yeah, I just was talking to him because I gave him a flyer and stuff. So we bonded on that really cool celebrity story. Because if you notice, like, if you've figured out now, back in the day, I used to love celebrities. And through her, I met that really shitty ex-boyfriend of mine. And I just think it's really funny how, like, just a moment can, like, be the stepping stone for where we are now. So, yeah, thanks, Michael Cera. You know? It's the reason I'm here.
You really built a lot from that.
Yeah, didn't I? I kind of milked it, yeah.
What is it? Do the paint, the art from your pain, the line you love so much? Turn your pain into...
Take your broken heart and turn it into art. Stunning. We should all be doing that, lads. Yeah. So, Ivy, listen, tell us, what else do we have there on the list? Have you any just weird story?
Just pure, just fucking pure Berlin.
You have just tell us another funny story.
So many.
Yeah.
Just tell us a story. Oh, do you know what? Yeah. There was a time when I was actually in a relationship and I was not looking for anyone, and someone had posted on Facebook, and honestly, I actually had completely blanked this whole situation from my brain, and then Lulu earlier was like, do you remember that time? And I was like, oh yeah. And so this guy posted on Facebook being like, I've just gotten into climbing. Does anyone know anything about climbing and can help me like pick out some equipment? And I messaged him and I was like, hey, I'm a climber. I can help you pick out some equipment. And he was like, great. So we met up, and immediately he wanted it to be a date situation. And I was like, no, sorry, I'm actually in a relationship. No, it's fine. We went into this shop, I think it was Camp 4. Anyway, not important. And he proceeded to buy like every single item of like climbing equipment ever. Like I was like, you're going to need shoes for sure, maybe a bit of chalk. And I was like, are you thinking about rope climbing? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, then you're going to maybe want a rope, but maybe not to start with. Maybe you can always just borrow someone else's rope. Then you're going to need a harness. And I was like, pretty much everything else you can just kind of borrow from people. And he was like, no, I want to buy everything. You just have to tell me what to buy. And so I was like, cool. This is like my dream shopping trip, only I don't get any of the things. So I was just like in the shop picking out all the things. And I got a lot. And then I was like, this is a lot. This is going to be really fucking expensive. And we went to the checkout, and he spent like $3,000 on climbing equipment. And I was like, holy fuck. And I was like, but he'd never been climbing before. He just had decided that it was going to be his new hobby. I have a feeling to try and pick up girls. But afterwards, he kept trying to ask me on a date. And I was like, no, I'm genuinely not interested. And then afterwards, he messaged me being like, I've got this really nice apartment and there's a free room. In case you just want to be roommates with me, I think that could be quite nice. And I was like...
How about no?
So, yeah, no, I was like, no, I've got an apartment. And he was like, are you sure you don't want to go on a date with me? I was like, I'm really sure. But yeah, I think he'd just literally gone to the shop to impress me with buying $3,000 worth of climbing equipment. I'd say he would have done it with anyone.
Sad, isn't it? I wonder where he is now. Sad. What's he doing?
I know.
You'd often wonder where these men end up,
where
wouldn't
you?
Grand.
In debt, probably.
In debt, yeah.
Yeah, and then the other one, I guess the other kind of very, very Berlin dating experience that I've had, which I've not yet said on the podcast, so it's a special for you guys, is a little love triangle that I accidentally ended up in. And when I first arrived in Berlin, I guess it wasn't a triangle. I don't know. You can decide. When I first arrived in Berlin, like maybe a year after or something, I hooked up with this guy and I went on a couple of dates with him. And he was a tennis instructor. And let's call him Ben. And so Ben was a tennis instructor. I went on a few dates with him. And then like 3 years later, I was in a relationship with someone else. Let's call them, I don't know.
John.
No.
Sorry, your current boyfriend is John.
Robbie.
Fine name.
Right. So I was dating Robbie. Me and Robbie dated for like a year and a half. And then I broke up with Robbie, or we broke up. And then we stayed good friends. And a little while after that, about 6 months or something after we broke up, Robbie was telling me about how he's started dating his tennis instructor. And I was like, oh, good for you. That's really nice. Congratulations. And like, then on Instagram, I saw one of my friends going with Robbie for their tennis day out, and I saw the instructor, and it was Ben. It was Ben, the tennis instructor, and I'd ended up, my ex had slept with my other ex in Berlin.
Happens.
So it wasn't necessarily a triangle. However, I then ran into Ben about a year later and ended up sleeping with him again. So
Oh, God. That's brilliant. We just recycle each other, don't we?
It's a recycling triangle.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Oh, nailed it. Gas. Okay, well, I've seen so many people a couple of people putting their stories in the box. I'm getting a little bit excited. Will we start reading them out? We're doing well on time. We're flying through it.
Flying through it.
Flying through.
Before that, I've written... I didn't realise that I was going to read the other poem out, and I had actually written a poem for the podcast for you.
Are you about to serenade me in front of a live audience?
I am.
Oh
I am indeed. Yeah. This is This is just for you, and maybe all of the fuckheads that we've dated. So. If you get with me, you better listen carefully. You better behave, or here's what we'll do. We'll put you in the next book by Lulu. You'll end up nameless, a cautionary tale. Just another fuckface, spineless male. Like the yogurt man, the DJ, the tattoo butt guy, the I've missed you, nice hands, or the 30-second fuck guy, the chef man, the boss man, the my neighbor's dead man, the climate change denier, or the strange artist French man. There's the murderer, of course, that goes without mention. Just spreading the word, that's our only intention. We've kissed all the toads so our girlies don't have to, because dating these fuckheads isn't a phase we must pass through. Look out for those red flags, stay away from the creeps, just listen to Lulu and stay safe in the sheets.
Oh! I love that. You're a talent. You're a great woman. Let's preview your diary.
So, pre-doing this podcast, I had actually had an idea of doing another podcast, which was to read my teenhood diary out and have people hear it. I have kept a diary since the age of 6 until I moved to Berlin. I don't know why I stopped. I just stopped. But the teenage years are comedy gold. I was weirdly sex obsessed. I wrote in my diary, and I was really dramatic, and I kind of want to know what the vibe is, if people would like to hear more of this diary or not.
You're selling it very well already.
Let me find it. I'll read you this first bit because on the first page of my diary, this is when I was 13 years old, the 27th of the 5th, 2006. It says, if you are reading this, please stop at this page. You know it's not right. If I am dead or disappeared, the answer really isn't in here, so don't. For my sake, and for the sake of some other people, if I die, bury my diaries with me. Thanks. Love, Ivy. Kiss, kiss. So I'm just going to apologize in advance to 13-year-old me for reading my diary in front of a whole stage of people. So, the 10th of the 8th, 2006. This is just one random entry I picked today. OMG. I went camping the other day with the girls. It was so much fun. And we met all the boys. They were on some Jewish camping trip, and they were all so fit. One of them was called Ozzy. I saw him with no top on. Ooh. Literally written WWWW. Ooh. And his sexy red hair, brackets, dyed red, not real, by the way. He. OMG, I absolutely love him. I'm going to see him to Moz. I wish I could just have a boyfriend. I'm starting to fancy every boy I see. Lol. I really want a boyfriend. Caps lock. I really want a boyfriend now! Underlined twice, exclamation point. I can't wait to have sex. I'm gonna cry. Everyone says it's amazing and really nice. But I'm still a stupid little virgin. Sometimes I go on chat rooms and make up stories about my fake boyfriend Mike, who is 16. I just kind of like to believe it myself.
Tears are streaming down my face.
Ooh.
I can't even have a beer. I keep laughing.
I see in the films who talk about how much they are in love with each other and they tell the person that they love them that they can't do it, that they love them. I can't do that to anyone. Hopefully to Moz I will be brave enough to ask Ozzy for his Addy. I want some love. I'm bored of sleeping in a single bed alone. I want someone by my side to hug. I want a real kiss from someone who loves me. Maybe someday. Anyway, gotta go. Sleep now. Night, night. Goodbye. Ivy. Kiss, kiss.
Oh my God, that's fucking brilliant. You were 16 writing them?
I was 13.
Oh, you're 13? Really?
I
Jesus.
was in 2006. Imagine what it gets to at 16. It's pretty fucking wild.
I mean, put your hands up if you want to hear more of that. Hello. Yes, you have a full room there. Thank you. That was hilarious. I've never heard your diaries. I don't read your diaries. That was great. Thanks.
I have, I think, I'd say the golden years are years through 12 through 18.
Wow.
I don't know if I'd go for the 18 ones because I feel like it's slightly too close for comfort. Maybe until 16, we'll see. Yeah, maybe I'll read out a few more entries on the pod, or maybe I'll start a podcast one day.
No, just stay with me.
Okay.
Yeah, please. Lol.
You want
Right.
all the royalties.
I'm dying to hear
OMG.
these stories. To Moz is just the best thing ever. Okay. This was really fun the last time we actually read these out. This was some crack. I hope I can read your writing now because it was a bit troublesome the last time. Right. Okay. Made out with a cute older guy in Sisyphus. He asked for my number and came to something at the cafe I was working at. Okay, we'll figure this out. While working, I saw him arrive and go to great extents to hide his bike in the bush next to the cafe. The thing is, the bike had a children's seat on the back. Oh, snaky. Turns out he was married with kids and thought he was being slick. Lol.
Fuck her.
God, what an idiot. What a fool.
I know someone who was dating a guy for like a good few months and went to his house a bunch of times. And there were pictures of a woman with children. There was children toys there. And she asked him about it. And he was like, yeah, that's my friend Susan. She lives in Munich and I rent her house from her. And she was like, yeah, okay, fair enough. Anyway, she went round to surprise him one day and fucking Susan was there. Susan was his wife. The child was his child.
That's terrible.
But that friend then, that was like 7 o'clock in the morning or something. It was really early and she phoned me crying. And then we became like really good friends from that because before that we kind of only worked together. Yeah. So ended up getting one of my best friends from a asshole.
I love that. Oh, that's
thing,
great. But I must say, without getting a bit, but like, you know, you come to Berlin, like, you know, full of hope and at least for me, very trustful of people. And I don't know, the city kind of breaks your trust in people, doesn't it? You just like, she had no reason not to believe him that he was renting a gaff from this woman, blah, blah,
exactly.
blah. And lying bastard. Anyway, let's get through this one. I was once hooking up with a guy. He was fingering me, and then he pulled his fingers out, smiled, and said, hand cream. Turns out I had a yeast infection and his fingers were covered in it. Oh, that's fucking horrific. Oh, Jesus. Lads. Oh, Lord, we've heard it all now.
Pure shock. Okay. It was in the COVID times and I was out for a few cocktails with my friend. The next lockdown was to begin at midnight. Honestly, I did not know this. I got a text from a boy I was seeing asking him if I wanted to go to kinky party in the basement of a funeral home. He said there would be nice, welcoming people and some good music. I thought, YOLO. So I went, despite it sounding a little weird. With the funeral home thing, arrived at the party and it was cool, lots of fun, was meeting some cool people. Next thing, about 2 a.m., the police arrive. I learned this wasn't really a legal venue. No fucking shit. Sorry. So we're all told to go and hide in some back stairwell. It took a while, but eventually the police found us. They lined us up outside and took our details. We learned since midnight new COVID rules had kicked in, so this party was illegal for more than one reason. The police went away, but at this point we're all quite high and still wanted to party. Long story short, I ended up at another kinky house party at 11 a.m. in the morning, sitting among other things, a hot tub with some very interesting people, and a large fine in the post a few weeks later.
I love it. Okay. One night, my boyfriend and I had sex when two significant things happened. One, he accidentally got cum in his mouth due to the speed and angle he had pointed his dick in. Number two, he came in my hair. But the story doesn't end there. As it was nighttime, like 1 a.m. midweek, washing my hair was a bit of a chore. So I decided to just have a body shower. This was all good and well until I remembered the next morning as I was cycling to the hairdresser's appointment that the semen was still in my hair. Luckily, it wasn't obvious and the hairdresser never noticed. Oh, jeez.
Oh, you don't know that. You don't know that. I recently found out from a TikTok that a dentist can see if you've given a blowjob because there's a very specific bruising pattern on the roof of your mouth. So, PSA.
Oh, wow.
If you've got a dentist appointment booked.
Oh.
There was some girl on TikTok like asking her dad who is a dentist.
Oh, wow. God, okay. That's awkward.
Now you're thinking of all the time we went to the dentist.
Yeah, kind of. I'm like, oh God, what has happened? French, you're looking
we
at one
finishing
more.
up?
So I think are we having fun? Wunderbar. Okay, these are the ones, Ivy, that I believe collected from the last show that we didn't have time to read out. Well, that was a funny one. That's just a very quick one. Once went on a first date with a guy who sent me his IBAN for just €3. Guess where he was from, is what it says here. I am not great at deciphering
Weirdly
these.
doing better even though I'm dyslexic. Maybe it gives me a superpower.
Okay. It says blowjob in it, so it must be interesting.
Okay. I met a Hinge date at Trip Tower Park for beers and a walk. As we're talking, a couple of red flags pop up. Delete. He's a huge fan of Elon Musk.
Red flag, red flag.
He's conservative.
Red flag, red flag.
And he watches Andrew Tate videos.
Oh, Jesus Christ, fucking hell.
Yikes. Yikes is right.
Run away.
I'm ready to finish my beer and leave when he asks me about my experience being bi. He asks if I feel the same kind of love towards men and women. And he seems genuinely curious. So we talk a bit, and I asked him if he's ever had feelings for a man. He says, well, actually, my roommate and I used to give each other blowjobs, but I'm sure I'm straight. Really? Are you sure?
Are you sure now?
Just try it one more time. He said he had repressed these memories until taking mushrooms, when suddenly he remembered. He became curious about relationships with men, but then he found out his friend had died years ago in a car accident. So he lost all feelings for men and fell into a men's right YouTube spiral. Oh
Jesus,
my God.
I was hoping for a happy ending there. Fucking hell.
That got dark real quick.
Yeah.
I hope this guy's okay.
Great. Well, I guess we have to end it on that note.
Diddly diddly dee.
I was going to say, quick, do your quick funny one of when the guy at the traffic lights, and we can. That's a funny one. Shall we make a bit of room on the?
I kind of need to pee. It's not ideal.
You need to
Okay,
pee?
that's
Okay.
fine. Wait a second. I'll start seated. This was one of the first that I was going to talk about earlier, but forgot. I guess it was the first time I got ghosted, for good reason. I went on a date with this man, and it was a really nice date, and we chatted, and it's not that important. He was really impressively tall, and I was like, wow, I'm just going to date this really tall guy, and he's attractive, and it was great. And we finished the date. I was walking towards the train station. It was near Cottbus. And
there's loads of sounds going around the room right now.
It was near Cottbus, and we kissed, and we had this nice kiss. And then I turned around. We were going to go in opposite directions. I turned around, and just as I turned around, the fucking traffic light went red, and so I couldn't cross the road immediately. And then I turned around, and he was still standing there. And so I didn't know what to do, and it was a really awkward moment. So what I did... I feel like I'm going to trip over something. So I'm like here, and I'm standing, and there's like the green, and then I look around, and he's still there standing. And so I used to have this thing with my friend where we would like thrust shuffle up to each other. And in this moment, I just went... for like a second kiss moment. And we had like a second kiss, and then I turned around and think, fuck, it was green, because I was really embarrassed. And he didn't text me back after that. And I really don't blame him. So that moral of that story is don't thrust shuffle.
At anyone.
At anyone. At any time. And now we can end on that note.
Lovely.